What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with another series here from the Clash of Immortals EGC TV tournament here. S-tier Age of Mythology retold shenanigans. What a time to be alive. In the left-hand corner of the map, we've got Kvoth playing as Freya, and in the right, we've got Matador playing as Odin. The map is Arena. And yes, we are now in the losers portion of the tournament. I would guess if we call this the quarterfinals, so to speak, of the losers bracket, we've got this one, and then we have the semifinals of the losers bracket, and then we've got the finals of the losers bracket. So this is the big times. Now, let's talk about these players first and foremost, because some of you guys might not be 100% aware of exactly who these guys are. So first and foremost, Kavoth. He kind of came into prominence. I mean, most people have been watching his streams and stuff, I'm sure, but he sort of came into prominence where with some incredibly resourceful defensive play in the later stages of Legacy's life, like 2003, 2004. That's kind of when he sort of came into his own. It wasn't always a 1v1 play. It was actually a team game player when he started out. So yeah, he has a pretty rich history of competition, so to speak. Of playing of competition, maybe the wrong word, of like never give up, never surrender sort of style competition, competitive spirit. And it has managed to get him a lot of really, really nice wins in tournaments where other players might not find him. And he's very, very nice, very fun player to root for, especially when he's in those sort of positions, because you know that he's going to be giving it his all. Matador, on the other hand, this guy, I don't think I really knew much about him before Retold, but as soon as Retold hit, he was like top of the ladder, completing, really, really strong player. But I think recently, especially in this tournament, from what I've seen thus far throughout all of the games, he's really come into his own, and I think he's a terrifying player to play against now. He's got insanely good control. In fact, some of the best control, I think, out there at the moment. A couple of players can compete with him, but he is very, very good with his army movements, with his raiding, and his ability to like set the game at his pace. I think he's a really exciting player to watch, and I'm excited to watch more of him throughout the coming tournaments and years, hopefully. But let's talk about the matchup now, because we are on the map Arena, and we are seeing Ulla coming through here for Kavoth. Now, Matador, as the Odin, he's got the options here. This is a really interesting pick, in my opinion, for Matador. He's got two options here. Option number one is he can go with Freya, and he can just simply burn the forest and say, hello there, Kavoth. He's not going to go Freya, but he could simply go Freya, hello there, Kavoth. I'm in your base, and if you take a look at how the wood situation is actually stretched out, you can actually get a wood staff on this map. If your opponent doesn't want to build units and doesn't want to fight you, it's not going to be simple. Odin's got a lot of real good pressure here. This is not like a regular map. Your wood spawns, they're all around the outside of the map, which means the town center isn't close by, and how are you going to defend that? So we're not going to see the forest fire approach, but he can do the same thing with Heimdall as well. Undermine, and then just harass that wood line to no end. Arena, on the surface, looks like a really defensive map, but in reality, with certain gods, it's not defensive at all. And I love this Odin pick from Matador, but we'll see how he's going to go here. Sometimes Heimdall is a little bit of an awkward sort of pick. It doesn't really give you anything, so to speak, in terms of your actual army strength. What it gives you is timing. So you get Rigstall nice and quick. You get Safeguard to get cheaper things. It allows you to spend resources that are coming in even faster, a little bit more efficiently. But yeah, you don't get any powerful units. Like you don't get the Berserk upgrades from Forseti, or you don't get the Raiding Cavalry upgrades from Freya, or with Ulla, you don't get the access to the hill forts and all that good stuff. But a really, really interesting sort of god to go for. But yeah, you're definitely looking for timings here if you're playing Odin on this size. We do see Rigstaller is pre-queued. Takes a little while for this one to come through. One way to sneak this up a little bit quicker is to get your Herser out and start shanking down, or whacking, I should say, some boars around the map. As you do see an armory already up here for Kvoth. Hasn't gone for any sort of village center play, any sort of far second town center ideas here. It's just going to be massing units and seeing. We do have the cheeky little houses going down into settlements to make sure that nothing surprising gets to come through as the Great Hunt does come down. Another option to get your food out or your favor out is to just get your Herser in and kill off your own hunt in your main base, because there's a fair amount of favor there. You could definitely have his upgrades. He's grabbing himself Hamask as well, nice and quickly. I'm a bit surprised to see him go for that as the unit's coming forward here. A little bit of the fight as one Berserk is going to die. One smack, and it's down. Berserk is down, ladies and gentlemen. First blood is drawn on the map arena as El Matador going to be retreating all the way back, and we do see a pretty quick Asgardian Bastion drop down. I still think the best place for this building, without a doubt, is on your wood line. It doesn't matter if you're playing against anything. I think, man, you've got Egyptian shifting sands into your main base and just controlling the wood. One idea. You've got the Greek players, Zeus just bashing down your walls, sitting on your wood line. You've got Underworld passage from the Greek players onto your wood line. You've got Norse players, Forest Fire or Undermine to get onto your wood line. You've got Atlantean players sending Stymphalian birds onto your wood line. You've got the Chinese with the how to Cheongqi able to fly in and harass your wood line. So there's just a lot of stuff there. And the more I see it, the more I'm like, yeah, Freya's a perfect pick for this map. But put the bloody hill fort on the wood line and call it a day. It doesn't need to be anywhere else. Everywhere else has got towers to defend it. Nonetheless, I will leave my complaining for another time, as upgrades are going to be coming through, and it's just a pure mass at the moment. Both these players here know that grabbing a town center is probably a little bit risky. Undermine in means you can undermine the town center and take it down really quickly if you don't have the units and all the other good stuff. The Ravens are there to scout it out as well, as we'll see exactly when this is all going to happen. I'm surprised to see El Matador not just snipe. Like, there's a bear there he could kill. He's got Odin. Odin's got that bonus favor gather rate when using those units to kill off stuff. We're seeing this from Kavoth here, which is really, really smart. He's about to get himself just a little bit more favor. He's got a lot of favor in the bank, actually. Not exactly sure how he's got nearly 40 favor in the bank, and El Matador's got 0 favor in the bank. He must have killed all the animals on the map right now. I kind of want... we're watching, because the recorder games aren't really working, we're watching from the EGC TV clean feed. I kind of want vodka. Yes, he's just gone around and killed all the animals. This is the only reason. Yeah, look, he's killed all these ones down the bottom. This is the only reason that Kavoth's got all this favor. Really, really smart from Kavoth. This is exactly what you're supposed to do, I think, in this sort of situation. If you can't fight your opponent, fight the animals, get the favor, get some advantage. Now we're going to see the boars getting killed off here. This is some good favor to come in, and Rigstula will come through. Scardy's going to come in as well, so the timing is there from El Matador. Gets full value out of Rigstula. In what I mean by that is, when you research Rigstula, it takes like 20 seconds or so to research, or 40 seconds, I can't remember. And the amount of time that it cuts off of the research time of your next stage means you actually didn't lose any villagers for getting that upgrade. So it's immediately paid off, so to speak, or the research time. As opposed to if you grab it really early, your villagers, you're still going to be obviously paying it off as villagers coming out quicker, but it takes a little bit longer. Or not a little bit longer, it's just different. Don't worry about it. Just get Rigstula as fast as possible. It's totally fine. Kvoth now moving outside of his base. He's going through A gear, so both players go on the Frosty Gods. We're going to see some nice, cool winter nights coming for us in this game, as they're both just building up stuff here at the moment and seeing what's going to happen. I want to see from El Matador one thing here that Heimdall has, which I think is severely underrated, and I've started doing this actually quite a lot in my own games when I go Heimdall, is watchtowers. Safeguard watchtowers. They become very, very cheap. You can spam them up. Safeguard hill forts as well. You can spam them up really, really quickly with a whole bunch of infantry units. And then all of a sudden, you've got archers. Norse has got archers. it sounds crazy to say that, but you've got a whole bunch of archers that's just sitting there. They can't move in the towers. You got all the extra income from Rigstula, from that extra stuff's coming through. When you go through Skadi as well, we're seeing El Matador grabbing it here. Winter Harvest, you get a whole bunch of extra food, so you need less villagers, or food income, you need less villagers on food. You can put them more over onto wood, and you're just in a good spot. I think it's a really, really great way to play when you're going Heimdalls. We are seeing some great hauls to come through. I don't think the idea is to get any cavalry out here. Excuse me. He's probably more to get out Godi or Hersa or something like that, as a nice little fight here from El Matador as he's pushing Kavoth back. Just getting a little bit of damage. Not going to be able to take any sort of big fights here. Those Draugr are very, very scary when facing up against the Berserks here. And El Matador does see all the Draugr and he says, all right, time to get some Godi. Now, the hardest part here for Odin, for Norse in general, is how do I deal with these rock giants? Rock giants are a menace. They are so tough to kill off because their armor goes up when they taunt. You see these units coming in. Those Draugr are doing huge amounts of damage here. We do have the Tempest plus the Gullinbursti to come down as an immediate Frost getting dropped down, but he does not quite hit the Gullinbursti, so all of the units here for El Matador are going to turn around onto this Gullinbursti and take it out. So at the very least, it's going to go down, but it does get some pretty decent value here as the rest of these units are getting frozen up towards the end, and the Gullinbursti just keep getting kills after kills. Population differential here is in heavy advantage for Kvoth, which is not good if you're in the side of the Odin player here. The whole point is for Odin is I get tempo or I get economy advantage and I just have more stuff than you. If you're ever behind on stuff against Freyr, that is really, really bad for you're behind on eco, or you like, well, kind of not really behind on eco, but behind on resources because they're spending less on their own upgrades. So you just falling behind. That's all it is. So El Matador is going to have to find a way to move forward in this game, whether that be getting an extra town center or something. He's getting Hunter's Axe here, which is a great technology for those throwing axemen. You can start to space his opponent a little bit by having an extra range on them. It's not that big of an advantage, not big enough of an advantage to kind of turn a fight, but it is a nice little thing that you can play into as the Odin through Skadi over Aegir. But still, we've got these rock giants, which is just going to be really tough to deal with. Now, one option here, which Odin has, and I think the reason why he did go through Skadi over going through Njord, is that the Frost Giants technically can counter those Rock Giants. They freeze them in place, can't use their taunt if they're frozen, and their armor is going to stay put. They can't run away. The Godi can take them out, even if they do have relatively high pierce armor. Can take them out if they haven't used that taunt, and you're good to go. Nonetheless, we're seeing Rhyme coming through here now for El Matador. More heroes coming in. It's 10 heroes for El Matador to only 4 for Kavoth, as he is grabbing himself this upgrade, Feast of the Renowned, just a little bit late. He's preferring those Rock Giants first, which I don't mind, but it does kind of slow down his economy boost, so to speak, and he's going to start just pumping out either village centers or hill forts, depending on what he really feels like. Like, village centers aren't a terrible idea because you can place them all across the map and then you're just never going to run out of villages, and they get you the same sort of thing that the hill forts get. Or you just go for hill forts and you can start thinking about making ballaster and things like that for the late game, and all the other good stuff. As the army here, running very much out of position there. Those Draugrs having some problems, as we do see the Frost there onto one of the Rock Giants, and he gets his taunt off beforehand, as the Godi managing to snipe down one Bergrizi. There's 2 Bergrizi remaining here. Great control from Kavoth, getting those throwing axemen onto the right units, charging down here. El Matador kind of needs to pull back at the moment. He does not have the answers for all of these throwing axemen here. He is getting some nice little jukages in there, moving back and forth. Absolutely love to see that. That's that Age of Empires 2 micro there. I know that El Matador has gotten fairly high on the Age of Empires 2 ladder, so he knows how to get those that shoot and scoot sort of dodging ballistics there. One idea is if you make the throwing axemen into a box formation, then they're going to get into a tight ball, and even with ballistics in, you wait until the moment the arrows or the axes leave, the unit, and then you move, and then the or you move one way, and then as soon as the arrows leave, you move back the other way, and you're going to be able to dodge everything. Really, really nice way to play that, as Kavoth getting sent back here for the time being, sniping a couple of throw and axemen, doing all the good stuff. Another throw and axeman going down, another throw and axeman going down. Great play there from El Matador, getting all of those snipes, as all of a sudden the game seems to have sort of flipped on its head ever so slightly, as the timing is starting to sort of benefit El Matador. I'm not sure exactly how this happened, as all of those rock giants ended up falling here. Now the Goaty in the front here as well are really, really good to sort of tank damage from those throwing axemen there, as well as a couple of cavalry units just to come in and sit on the front line, tanking up as much as they can. But now we've got ballistics to come through. We'll see if El Matador can keep that Jukum sort of idea going through. Now, you can't do this on the other side for Kavoth, because you've got Hunter's Axe. Now, that's something I didn't touch on before, but actually, if you've got that micro skill, which these players do have at the top level of Age of Mythology, all of a sudden there's a gigantic advantage there in these sort of throwing axeman ball fights. As Kavoth here trying to push back out. El Matador here doesn't have himself that third town center up, as Kavoth is doing a little sneaky. He hasn't grabbed his own town center, but he is grabbing his opponent's. It's about to be 3 town centers. Oh, never mind. He deletes it. And he pre-queues the Mythic Age. That's fine. I'd still love the idea of stealing that town center, though, if I'm Kavoth. One villager, dwarf going down, another dwarf going down as a throwing axeman, getting in there, getting that damage done. It's so good here. This control from this is what I was talking about. Kavoth's control is just, not Kavoth, El Matador's control is just really, really good. I definitely wouldn't be one of the players who would want to get out there and play him for sure, because he's just going to get all of that advantage over me. But nonetheless, Kavoth here still just trying to hold on. Remember, when Freyr gets to that late game, he gets an extra 10%, 20% HP on all of his units, which Odin doesn't have access to. Odin can find the advantage with towers and things like that, like I've already said, getting Safeguard out and have a good game there. But yeah, it's a tough one, as we've got a huge amount of units queued up here from El Matador. I feel like I feel like I've seen him doing this, and I do think it's a slightly bad habit to get into. If you guys are, like, it's not terrible. The reason why it's a bad habit is, well, you don't know how many resources you actually have usable. Of course, these resources are going to get used once the units come through. But right now, I mean, you're looking at this queue, and there's probably about, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 resources just in that queue alone, which means, well, maybe I should have taken some villagers off of wood here, for example, put them over onto food. I didn't know. Didn't know I had that much excess. Plus also other things, like I could have had myself an extra upgrade here or there a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, he's still totally fine. He's just going to be behind on this age up, as Kavoth is charging forward. He gets very much out of position here, but Inferno is about to come, and Kavoth here will most likely be using that straight onto this army, as El Matador chasing beautifully. So many beautiful kills here, as the Inferno charges in. Great split up there from El Matador, as the Inferno in onto this position, picks off one temple, leaves the hill fort with a tiny bit of HP remaining, and Tia is now clicked up for El Matador. I'm gonna throw out I'm gonna float one idea here. Maybe Tia is completely fine, but with all of the gold mines in the center of the map, and the fact that you've got no late game here, maybe not Ragnarok, but maybe a Villager Ragnarok, a Berserk Ragnarok here with this tier could be the way forward here for El Matador to just win this game. Because Kvoth has got 4 town centers. He's now secured all of the map. Well, he hasn't finished them, but he's securing it. Realistically, El Matador needs to go up there. But the point is, hit Mythic Age, have your, I think it's about 4,000 resources to convert all of the Berserks into, all the villages into Berserks for a non-Loki Norse player. So get those 4,000 resources to go there, and then just convert and then hold the center. There's no goal for your opponent, and you're able to sort of win, so to speak. Also, you get Frost in the bank there as well, 200 favor. use that on the army, you're good to go. Maybe he doesn't need to do so because his army is just absolutely dominating for the time being. You've got champion Jarls in. I'm kind of shook at how well El Matador is winning these fights, but Kvoth is still full population. He's still completely fine here. He needs to wait on those upgrades. It takes so long for them to come in. But with his advantage of hitting the Mythic Age so much faster than El Matador, Kvoth will be hitting himself with the Champion Infantry, Iron Mail, and his 4th Age economic upgrades first. Timberwinter to come down. Going to be hitting all of these town centers nicely. All the villages will have to pull back into their shelter here. And funnily enough, with that 4th town center up, you get hit with another wolf spawn. As the Throwing Axeman slowly breaking through everything on the front. The Goatee here trying to hold on to this spot here, sniping down the Frost Giant there. I don't think any town centers are necessarily going to actually fall, but huge damage still coming through onto all of them will allow El Matador to potentially use Undermine on one of them. He could have undermined that one if he was paying attention, but too much going on at the moment. His Champion Infantry pre-queued. He's got himself Berserker Gang as well. He does have that extra frost here, so he can easily just wander up to the top side of the map with Burning Pitch, frost the army, kill off the town center. One thing that I think that Kavoth is really missing here in a big way is those Bergrizi. He built them before, but he's decided to stop. There's no reason to ever stop building the Bergrizi in this matchup, because like I said, there's not a great answer. Frost Giants are fine, but there's not a great answer for Bergrizi for Odin. And the longer this goes on, like El Matador is pushing in front a lot in terms of upgrades and things, but he needs to be like getting his position all sorted out as well. Very, very importantly. So that's like getting himself another gold mine. He's probably going to be running out of gold soon. We see some villagers needing to get converted over onto this position, but no problems there for Kavoth. He's just going to get those villagers back out nice and quickly. We are seeing the villagers pushing into the corner of the map on the wood line there, so setting up for a market for the late game as well. As El Matador rushing up to this top side, picking off more villagers. You almost have to ignore the score at this point. I don't think it matters. Realistically, both players are going to be a full population here. But Kavoth has just not been able to win a single fight in this game thus far. Like, El Matador is just controlling his army just better. Plus, he's got the extra upgrade for the Throwing Axeman, so they're just a superior unit until these extra upgrades come in. Twilight of the Gods will be coming through. Human soldiers plus 10%. And we see the Frost getting dropped down onto this army here in order to try and take out the hill fort and take everything else out here. He's got to focus down these buildings, though. That's important. He didn't wait on that Burning Pitch, so the Throwing Axemen don't have bonus damage versus buildings. But nonetheless, he's pushing forward here, trying to take out all the Throwing Axemen that are left. Undermine getting dropped down onto these buildings here as well to take out the town center and the hill fort as well. But if El Matador keeps fighting here and the hill fort's not down, the town center's not down, all of a sudden there's 2 HP a second of regen on this position, plus Twilight of the Gods is now in. I'm not actually sure if El Matador's army wins here anymore. As the hill fort does go down though, so that's going to be a big win. And El Matador does decide here now to just retreat back. But behind all of this, well, now Kavoth is getting close to having another A gear, and that's going to be huge. No, another A gear, another Tempest. He's at 200. He's at 161 favor. He's got 200 to wait for, or 40 to wait for to get to 200 favor, and he can use that to win a fight now as well. And El Matador not getting himself that town center back will mean now Kavoth is going to be going up to 4 town centers plus fortified town centers to come through. A huge, absolutely gigantic population advantage to come for Kavoth, plus the upgrades here. I'm not sure if he's got Frey's Gift just yet, which is another 10% HP. There it's coming in. But he just needs to get the population here. He's still fighting at 230, and El Matador trying his best to shoot and scoot here. He's picking off those Jarls nicely as Kavoth's army sort of slowly charging through, trying to take everything else out. And we'll see how it all goes. There's more buildings to come up all over the place. So an Axeman, Jarl's coming in. And there's the Tempest we were talking about for Kavoth, and El Matador. He can't stay here anymore. All of this advantage that El Matador's been building from having that Rigsdula, from having all of this stuff, it's now going to start. He's now going to start finding it very difficult to play this game. That's my assumption here. Now, the only other way that he could go right now is say, hey, I've got all these resources in the bank. Let me put towers down. But it looks to me like El Matador is going to be out of gold here. He's going to be out of gold. So he can't keep spamming units out. He's got 6 villages on gold, and I think some of those are what? I think some of those are caravans. There's only got caravans, I think, at the moment. Does make some Fenris Wolves, which will be nice. He's looking for some raids there with those ones, though. As he's got to somehow deal with those Goaty, which will take them out very quickly. I do think Fenris Wolves are pretty strong now, but I don't know. Maybe not in this sort of a situation. It's just absolute throwing Axeman wars to the nines here. Wait, is all of the gold gone? Both players are out of gold. Both players are out of gold. I have been misreading this situation completely here. This is the last army that matters. This is the last army that matters, because after this, I mean, you can sell some resources, I guess, but El Matador can clinch the victory right now if he just wins this fight. Kvoth can just retreat back, though. He's got 29 favor in the bank. He can make another not Gulen Bursty, another Bergreezy out, which could be huge in this fight here as well. I see Jarl's charging through. Population is dropping so quickly here for both players. Actually, no, El Matador still staying fairly fairly strong here. He's got a little bit of gold in the bank, and his trade route is starting to kick up. He does have just a handful of villages on that gold mine as well. So, wow, there's 0 gold left on the map for Kavoth. He's spent it all. I guess this has all just been from El Matador just trading like a madman. All of this has been him just having absolutely impeccable control for the entirety of this game. And Kavoth has just not been able to take a good trade. I have to imagine the kill-loss ratio in this game is through the roof for El Matador. I'm very interested in seeing it. Now we've got Burning Pitch to come through, and this is going to be enough to break through this town center. Kavoth is getting close to full population, though, now. If he gets out 2 Bergreezy, which he has the favor for, he's got the wood for as well, that's going to push him up to full population. He's going to be able to push down and potentially just clean up that army and call it a day here. As the units, they have broken through on this position, as they didn't actually, I'm not sure it didn't get walled back up or something, and Kavoth is trying to just break through this home location. I don't think this matters at all. Picking off the houses obviously makes things a little bit annoying for El Matador, but he's going to take himself a 3rd town center. He's going to be able to get himself up to 236 population or 235 population, and he's going to be able to continue here as we see flood control, architects coming through for Kavoth a little bit slowly there. We've got Burning Pitch now coming in as well to take down these buildings just that little bit faster. El Matador's going to be more than happy to come over here and defend. I'm sure. A little bit of a raid onto the wood villages. In fact, it's probably worthwhile at this point to just convert, I think, dwarves, all your dwarves into berserks, because, well, they don't cost that much gold to do so. I think it's like 10 gold or something. It's a lot of food, but not very much gold at all. Nonetheless, all the throwing axemen now coming back as the game is getting very tense now. The trade routes starting to look getting close to looking reasonable here, but you still have to take really good trades here as El Matador and Kavoth going at it with these throwing axemen. I can't call it here in terms of who's winning, as Kavoth has to pull away, as it seems he's lost his front line and the throwing axemen are too strong there for El Matador yet again. Villager differential here. I mean, there's more villages for El Matador, but I guess there's more trade route for Kavoth at the moment. And now we see the Bergreezy coming out. 4 Bergreezy queued up. This is what Kavoth needs, potentially what he's been waiting for as well, as there's no Goaty in the in the army right now for El Matador. And the way they do this is you get in, you get the taunt, onto the throwing axemen, and then your throwing axemen are able to clean everything up, while the enemy throwing axemen are shooting at kind of worthless rock giants. That's the angle here for Kavoth to pull himself back in and potentially win this game. As now we see towers coming up into the trade route. I love this. I don't know if he's gotten himself thus far, if he's gotten himself that safeguard technology. I don't know how I'm going to be able to tell, but I don't think he's grabbed it just yet. So they are a little bit more expensive than they otherwise should be. And the Bergreezy here will charge forward, getting a little bit of a taunt here. Nice pullback there from El Matador to bait that one as the army comes forward. And El Matador yet again needing to get his shoot and scoot shoes on. Berserk's on the front here, going to be falling very, very quickly. It's full population for Kavoth to El Matador, who is slowly starting to drop in population here. He's 100% out of gold now. So he does only have like six caravans to 39 for Kvoth. Kvoth's managed to get all of those up here, as it looks to me like Kavoth is pulling himself back into this game. He is... You sort of want to just run the Bergrizi all the way in and then manually trigger that special ability if you can help it. In these sort of situations, that's everything. But Kavoth a little bit too distracted with the controller and his throwing axeman. It looks like a little bit difficult to make that happen. And El Matador is able to continue taking good trades somehow, some way. As look at that perfect control. I just love it. Another Bergrizi taken down, and this is a favor problem, right? For Kavoth. When these Bergrizi are out, he's got all the advantage. But when they're not, he can't really do anything. So as El Matador takes them out, he's then going to be able to do whatever he wants. His Berserks are actually getting trained, which is a little bit awkward, I think, from El Matador. I'm not sure if he's getting them because they've got the speed and he can run in and try and get some sort of side builds going. I think that's exactly what he's going for. As yet again, pulling back. He's just so good on the control side. Even sending in a handful of units there to potentially bait out those Bergrizi taunts. Really, really smart play. We are seeing a huge amount of action on the bottom of the map, hitting this town center now as the Bergrizi plus Berserks taking the town center down, as the trade route for El Matador still not quite set up. You can't really take a head-on fight at the moment, but a really nice play there from Kavoth to snipe that position as the throw and axeman coming in. But we are seeing a really nice side build onto the trade route. Sometimes stopping a trade route is more important and more impactful than taking a town center here. As El Matador still needing to just shoot and scoot away from these Bergrizi here, as he does get a couple of them taunted up. Not the biggest of problems because half the army is a little bit distracted there. But the town center will come back up for Kavoth, as it looks like he has managed to hold on here for the time being. As a whole bunch of Berserks to come in and try and deal with that side build. He's going to keep doing that down to 55 villages now. It doesn't matter, because he's going to keep on getting himself ox caravans. He basically wants 60 ox caravans here and 30 villages, I reckon. 30 or 40 villages, because he doesn't need food villages, because he's not building any food things. Plus he's got that Feast of Renown tech with all of the town centers, 4 town centers, plus a whole bunch of hill forts. He's got more than enough food income for what he's doing. He doesn't need that much gold, or his gold income is sorted by the ox caravan. So all he's really caring about is wood. And he's got plenty in the bank with 30 villages there. So realistically, he could go down to 30 villages, 50 ox caravans, and call it a day. But yet again, great control from El Matador, still managing to trade really, really well here, as Kavoth is slowly but surely finding himself the advantage. Now, the big thing here for Kavoth is if he can get a whole bunch of hill forts now with his economy and slowly start getting himself some ballaster out, all of a sudden this giant Axeman army just falls to pieces as well. And the same thing for El Matador as well, to be honest. The ballaster do kill off. I was talking about it's really hard to deal with a Bergrizi as Norse, but realistically the ballaster is a great option versus those Bergrizi. So there is that. But also the trade route here for El Matador, kind of in line of the town center, it looks like. A little bit of a tricky one, as we are seeing a couple of those ballasts are now starting to come out. And El Matador, for the first time in this game, looks like he has basically fallen behind in the score, but he's still getting some good trades here, trying to kill off all these units. But Kavoth doesn't care about trades at the moment. Realistically, he's not wrong. You don't have to care about trading poorly when you're in the late game. When you have all the upgrades, it doesn't matter. When you got the trade route, it doesn't matter. All you need is to ensure you're still sitting at full population and you're taking map. And that's what's happening. But a town center does end up falling over there, as Kavoth a little bit cavalier with that defense, and the burning pitch manages to help out. But the main town center here going down will be problematic for El Matador, because that's his trade route. And those Bergreezy are going to go to town on this. The portable Rams here trying to finish this one off. As Townsend does end up falling. Dawn Axeman pulling back for the time being here. One Bergreezy down, another Asgardian Bastion to come through. All the Thrown Axe will manage to come in here and basically deal with this attack, but at what cost? Because now the Townsend is back. The walls are going to come back through. Whole bunch of Thrown Axemen in the queue there for Kavoth to get back up to full population. We see a Fimbulwinter there from El Matador. Fimbulwinter onto trade route. That's absolutely huge. This is the big damage. This sort of a Fimbulwinter is big damage. But look at the resources for Kavoth. El Matador's not really pushing with this. So it doesn't really matter that his trade route's going to suffer a little bit of damage. It doesn't really matter. So Kavoth is completely fine here. And we are seeing some walls coming up here from Kavoth as well, trying to completely shut off the trade route and all the other good stuff. More ballast are getting queued up and engineers as well. Whole bunch of villagers queued up for El Matador as he's hurting a little bit on food. He's hurting a lot on gold and a lot on wood. It looks like he's got no gold income. All of his trade caravans aren't working. And just trying to push forward. It's a lot of military for both players, though. Like, Kavoth's got to be thinking, dude, I'm 50 population in front of my opponent at the moment. How am I not winning? But realistically, it's because there's basically a 20 population difference in military here. Because there's so many trade caravans out for Kavoth and 0 out for El Matador. As the villagers getting sniped over here. Trade caravans going down as well. This fight in the middle probably actually going in favor of El Matador here. But I don't think it matters if you're Kavoth. Like I said, taking these sort of subpar trades isn't going to matter if you can keep reproducing these units. As he pulls back, El Matador snipes a ballista there. Walls coming up over here. Villagers getting sniped down. And El Matador is running out of steam, down to 150 population. The economy looks like it has been turned off. The switch is off. The plug has been pulled. And El Matador's chances of winning this game have dropped to null here as he does decide to tap out. An absolute grind of a game from Kavoth as he does find himself in I think he was completely lost here for a certain point, but he manages to just hold on as El Matador couldn't quite get that map control that he needed to sort of just win the game outright. But a really well played game there from Kavoth, managing to hold on. I was talking about how this is just how this God Freyr works. It's just so powerful. Doesn't matter that you're behind in economy because you've got all of the free or half price technologies, which are kind of making up for it. But yeah, the kill loss from El Matador throughout this game, man, absolutely insane. I think he had like 2 or 3 gold mines and Kavoth had a bunch more. He managed to catch up on the unit kill loss towards the end there. I think El Matador was way in front though, before all of it went south towards the end. But nonetheless, a really well played first game here from both. I'm excited for the rest of this series here. Stick with me and we'll get the next game going. And we are back with game number 2 as we've got now on the map Anatolia, El Matador running with the Hades and Kvoth running with the Thor. We actually saw something kind of similar to this in a very wild kind of, I don't know exactly how to put it, but I've had chats with some people recently, and it was a very funny game to say the very least of Kavoth playing Thor against Magic's Zeus. But different play here. It's El Matador as the Hades, Kavoth with the Thor. I do think that Kavoth is onto something here. I think he's right. I think if you don't want to waste or you don't get one of the big Greek gods, Zeus, Hades, for Anatolia, Thor is perfectly fine and reasonable to pick on this map. You can start off with 3 gold mines in your main base because most likely you'll be in the heroic age. That gives you 9,000 gold to play with, which basically means any sort of gold stuff or any sort of timing attack coming your way from the Hades or the Zeus player, with whether that be Underworld, Curse, or Bronze, is just not going to hit. So you've just got a lot more time here as the Thor player. The problem was that the Skylar were just winning against everything on water. But now, well, Thor's got access to Krakens, and that can be enough to kind of at least hold for a little bit and allow you to kind of transition onto the land and take control of that if need be. So I like this idea from Kavoth. I like the pick. I will see if he's going to be able to convert. I don't think it's easy. This is not like one of those gods that it's simple to play. People, I do see a lot of people like complaining to some degree about the power of Norse. And to some degree, it's true, right? You know, they're very simple to play on land. You got to do certain things, and you can find yourself very, very advantageous positions. On water, it's not easy. It really isn't. I don't. It's not a simple way to. It's not a simple thing at all in the slightest. Nonetheless, I'm excited to see what Kavoth's going to come up with here. He is getting out a lot of dwarves to kick the game off. He's got 4 dwarves already on gold, which does mean he probably wants more. Also trying to get himself out an extra berserk and all the other good stuff. I want to go out on a limb here and say the build order situation here for Thor on Anatolia has not gotten to the level of Greek. The reason is because you've got 2 or 3 really different types of Thor openings. You got the Thor opening where you share a gold mine like Kavoth's doing now. You got the Thor opening where you don't. You build an ox cart for that gold mine. You got the Thor opening where you drop your dwarven gold mine early. Right? So there's 3 different ones, and you have to figure out exactly how you're going to be able to play it. Plus you've got, okay, did we start on the same side of the water? Did we go on opposite sides of the water? And all the things that happen there. As El Matador rushing forward here, he can start shanking the Berserk. The Berserk can just simply retreat away if it so chooses, but nonetheless, going to be able to get that one up. The Berserk will come through for Kvoth, as he's going to be able to throw down a temple in his main base. As more fishing ships to come through. And realistically, he should be wanting to get an advance time through relatively soon. I'm surprised to see the delayed advance time from El Matador here. 5:15 is roughly when you want to be advancing, any later. And I do feel like there's some things that kind of went wrong with the build. And again, to some degree with Greek, there's 2 types of maps which you have to deal with. One where the wood isn't close and you don't, to the gold mine. Like a forest aren't close to the gold mine, and one where they are. And if there is wood close to the gold mine, you get a really, really nice start. If it's not, then, well, you have to build an extra storehouse, and that's a bit upsetting. But nonetheless, we'll see how things are going to go as the Athena's coming through. I'm sure we're going to be seeing 4 Seti. Okay. I was pretty certain we would actually see the Freya here from Kvoth. Reason being is you get access to Valkyrie to raid. In fact, because of the boars in your main base, you can shoot all of those down. You don't need goats either. You can shank the chickens down. And all of a sudden, you know, the Thor player can go for 2 Valkyries. I'm very obsessed with this whole idea, to be honest. But you can go for 2 Valkyries on a land map. There's Achilles to try and prevent this. There's Ajax to try and prevent this. There's only 2 of them. And you can be in 2 different positions at once. And then even if they are there, take a couple of smacks, no problems, run away, heal back up, and you're good to go. On top of that, dealing with the Minotaurs, I mean, 1 Minotaur is not that bad, but even so, you can kill it off really quickly if you have the Valkyries out. With the Troll, on the other hand, less useful, in my opinion. And on top of all of that, realistically, I don't think you want to go for Berserks in this matchup. I think you want to go for throwing Axemen. So, anyways, 4 Seti's the god of choice. As we see houses coming up, Kavoth trying to defend his base over here. We do see the very fast Vaults of Erebus to come through after advancing. I would be interested in some kind of really fast advances here from the side of a Hades player who goes for a really quick Vaults of Erebus. It's worth a little bit. If you go like probably like a 4-minute advance time into the Vault of Erebus, or just go for a 4-minute advance time with Vault of Erebus first into getting docks down and getting the fishing ships after as an idea. I'm not exactly sure what's better, but like 4 fishing ships is kind of better than the Vault of Erebus, I guess. Anyways, I'm talking a little bit of silliness here. As a couple of boats coming out, just a little bit of harass. I like that we're seeing this. This is sort of developing a little bit into like, oh, we're actually just going to build some boats out first and foremost and get some pressure done, forcing enemy units to actually need to be built to defend, so you can't just rush straight to the next age. We are seeing a couple of berserks coming through, Achilles to come through as well here for El Matador, as the Herser chasing down the Minotaur over here. El Matador not paying attention onto that one, takes a couple of smacks here. A couple of villagers could come over and shank as they get sent flying as he pulls more dwarves in, but he's not going to be able to stop that one. The way that there's this thing called a weight class in Age mythology. If you've got a heavy enough unit, he just kind of pushes units out of the way to get through. It's kind of cool and nice, but I think that this Minotaur is going to be falling here and not getting that next big headbutt off. There it goes. It does end up getting taken out as Kvoth is now starting to get the berserks in, getting some damage done. On the other hand here, El Matador's got tons of wood at the bank. He is actually going for a very, very heavy water fight in this classical age. He is winning the right-hand corner of the water outright for the time being. He's going to have a huge amount of boats on the left-hand side, and even if those berserks take down his docks, it's not a big problem. As the Achilles coming around, sniping down a straggler troll here. I love that play. He's going to be able to kill the troll, get out of there. Takes a little bit of damage for it, but he's out of there now. As we do see some Drakkar going after fishing ships for Kavoth, but El Matador not really playing too much on this top side of the map. I think he's kind of giving up on it. Instead, just going to take the right-hand corner or right-hand side and call it a day, it looks like. But a nice trade nonetheless. As some Toxotes to come through, both players are going to be probably thinking about a heroic age fairly soon. We are going to definitely see El Matador going there, as he does decide to go through Aphrodite, wanting to have himself the option of the Argo. My personal preference on this map is to get Underworld Passage and specifically get some healing shenanigans coming through. Reason being is, well, there's flaming weapons you might want to play around, so you can just sort of Underworld away from that. And all the other good stuff that comes from that. But Aphrodite does give you access to that Argo and also Curse to help sort of tire you over, so to speak. But nonetheless, Kavoth in the center of the map here. He knows what's coming. He's making some more fishing ships to secure the top left of the map. He's actually also built out a whole bunch of boats on the right-hand side of the map as well. And he might be able to grab himself a town center in the middle of the map. Now, normally I would say town center is not the best. You probably want to go to the heroic age first and then drop the town center, which it looks like is what Kvoth is planning to do. And if he does that, I love it. That's exactly Norse theory, in my opinion. It's on water is get heroic age and then get the town center. Reason being is you don't want to get stuck in the classical age. You want to get those fishing ship upgrades and all the other good stuff that comes from that. And then you also want to play around the earthquake later, so you have two different positions to sort of play from. But the dock getting cleaned up on this position here as Curse gets dropped down. The Herso will have to retreat back. A whole bunch of Toxotes now that do have ballistics. Going to be able to get a huge amount of value. And we will now start seeing some barracks come down, some longhouses. So I already talked about this, that I do prefer Freya here, but it's not just for the Valkyrie, it's also for the Thundering Hooves upgrade and the ability to really make raiding cavalry, because your opponent is just going to make Beltast and Hapaspis if you just go for infantry units, even making Toxotes as well. As the Dwarves getting pushed back here, there is one more gold mine in the main base. The towers will be helping. The town center here will be getting some good damage done, but this is a great little pressure attack here from El Matador as he snipes down one of those longhouses. Loses Achilles, unfortunately, but we'll have to pull back now after all is said and done. So after 10 minutes of this game, 11 minutes of this game, right-hand side of the map is El Matador's, left-hand side of the map is Kavoth's. Kavoth is, however, stuck in his base. And that's not a big problem. Like I said, he's got the Dwarven Gold Mine to get out of here, but we'll see how he's going to use it. As per scenes coming through for both players now in order to secure everything. The Skylar coming in as well. Not sure if Kavoth has got himself the upgrade for his longboats just yet. If he's got, I haven't seen it, as we see another Kraken to come through. And the Dwarven Mine does immediately get dropped down, but El Matador is spotting this here. These infantry units just don't cut it against the Hapaspis. Hapaspis is going to absolutely dominate those units there as the Battle Boar is charging, getting good amount of damage done over here. Skylar getting some good kills. The Kraken sniping down a fishing ship on that other position. We will be seeing a hill fort getting dropped down into the main base there for Kvoth. He's definitely needing that to just defend himself. He had anywhere to put that gold mine down, but he was very greedy on it in terms of like didn't want to lose any walking time, but realistically probably should have been on the other side of the base. But nonetheless, the hill fort continuing to come up. But this timing here from El Matador is just so brutal. Villagers falling, dwarves falling, I should say, and Toxotes are just going to continue to stream in here, throwing axemen berserks for Kavoth. Just don't do anything against the Paspis, Toxotes, Peltas sort of composition here. And Kavoth continuing to try and hold. He might be okay here for the moment, especially now the hill fort's up. But a lot of that gold mine is gone. And after that, well, El Matador can just sit outside of the base. There's 50 favor needed for another gold mine to continue in this one, which he might be able to get with a big fight. But that's a fight that's going to go the wayside of El Matador for sure, unless Kavoth starts going into some units not named infantry, not tagged with the infantry tag. The one thing that Kavoth is doing well now is while he's losing a whole bunch of stuff in the main base and all the other stuff there, he is sniping a lot of the food income for El Matador. So the food situation is going to be absolutely beautiful for Kavoth moving forward. But it's the gold that I'm worried about. He's got 800 gold in the bank. He will be able to go up to full population, but he's not making the right units here to beat what El Matador's building. So it's going to be a case of, I mean, can he sneak out? Can he get the defensive structures up or not? And it's another reason why I kind of like the Underworld as well, because I guess in this situation, you've got an answer. You can Underworld in on the villages that are going up there, flaming weapons, you run away. It's all good. But nonetheless, Kavoth is waiting this. He's biding his time very, very nicely at this point. There's a Peltas just trying to snipe some dwarves. Does manage to pick off one there. Every villager kill here is really important because El Matador doesn't have any fishing ships. So he does have the gold from Vault of Erebus, so it's 49 to 46, so 3 villager difference, plus the 2 and a bit, so it's a 5 villager difference there. But Kavoth has got himself like 21 fishing ships, which is literally 21 villages. So we'll call it like a 15 villager advantage right now for Kavoth. But will this matter is the question. El Matador's army, very powerful. Kavoth's army, I'm not sure. The Roar of Orthus is actually coming through as well. However, the dwarves are managing to break through. That Petropolis out is absolutely key here for El Matador, as well as the Nemean Lions charging in. There is the flaming weapons. You can utilize these Nemean Lions to get a huge amount of stun in. There's the restoration as well. On to the back line. The Pacifists come. No reaction from El Matador. Oh, now there is. He is pulling away here. The front line absolutely eviscerating here for Kavoth, but his army numbers are still staying high as now the Peltas can come around and start sniping down those throwing axemen here, as well as it looks like now Kavoth has to retreat back into his main base. He does have the gold for another Dwarven gold mine, but he's lost his entire army. He's lost a huge amount of villagers there. It's now a 20 villager advantage for El Matador, and that completely cancels out the advantage that Kavoth had in terms of economy here. So not only is Kavoth stuck in his main base, not only is Kavoth building the wrong units here, but he's now behind in economy as well in a big way. And we're going to be seeing Petropoli coming through here for El Matador to start sieging this main base. And there's no way to slow this down here. As the gold mine here getting mined up, it's going to be gone in an instant. 3,000 gold for an army. It's about right. He's probably going to be able to get himself up to a full population again, but we already saw with flaming weapons that it wasn't enough to beat this army. We're getting some Godi out. Godi are a decent idea against Paspist, but there's still also Peltas to come. Meanwhile, in the middle of the base, or the middle of the map, we haven't seen any fortresses just yet. Or maybe there's a fortress there. I can't. Yes, there is a fortress in the middle of the map. But now the Petropoli, they can siege everything down. And there's not going to be this time, it looks like, for Kvoth to just build up an army. He's going to be losing his temple. He's going to be losing his longhouses. He's going to be losing his hill fort. These Petropoli are really, really powerful here. And there's no way for Kvoth to start sort of push out. The Peltas are in as well to snipe any of those thrown axemen. They've got the range advantage there as well. So with good control, this should be very, very good for El Matador. Plus, now there's heavy infantry coming through, which it was a heavy army versus a medium army before. Now it's a heavy army versus a heavy army without flaming weapons. As Kavoth's gold mine looks like it's about to expire. The hill fort going down in the back. The heroes not quite in. Does utilize both of those stuns here on the Nemean lines. I love Nemean lines. I think Nemean lines are so, so strong, but you do have to control them. You really have to control them manually. I definitely recommend turning off that special ability until midway through the fight. That way, you're good to go. You get a big no overlaps on the stuns, but nonetheless, the army of Kavoth yet again eviscerated here, as on the retreat path as well. El Matador getting the stuns, getting the damage off, and Kavoth is back into his main base. 132 population to 180 population. More Nemean Lions are coming through here. Also, El Matador has managed to grab himself golden apples, so he's getting the Zeus favor gather rate here to spam these Nemean Lions out. It's absolutely gigantic. There's 4 Nemean Lions with 2 more to come. More Hypaspis to come through. Town centers can come down at any point now for El Matador. He is in such a commanding position. Another Dwarven mine placed down in an attempt for Kvoth to try and pull himself back into this game, but El Matador is having nothing of it. He's got all the Hypaspis to charge through. He takes everything out, and in that moment, El Matador taps out, and the game is done, tying the series up 1-1. This was... I just think that this was like maybe a misread of the entirety of this situation from Kavoth. Maybe he's played this matchup a bit and he's had success for some reason against Hades, but I have this feeling that if you think you can just go for infantry against Hades, normally in a land map, sure, because the Hades is going to struggle to get to that heroic age. You're going to struggle to get all that food out for those Hypaspis. But on a water map, you've got the fishing income. The heroic age is always going to come through, so they're always going to have access to those. And then those Hypaspis are just going to be too much power. So realistically, I do think you need raiding cavalry here. And I do think that Freya is your answer for Thor. But we didn't see it in this one, unfortunately. And El Matador gets the dub. And the Greeks reign supreme, it seems, on this Anatolia map for a little bit longer now. We have seen Freya winning. We have seen some Norse wins here. We have seen some Atlantean wins here as well. Maybe not in this tournament, I don't think. But in the past, we have. But nonetheless... we'll get into the next game. This one's a good one, and we'll see how it's going to go. Game number 3 now. 1-1 El Matador versus Kvoth, and Kvoth is on his pride and joy. He is on his Gaia. El Matador on the left-hand corner of the map is going to be playing Zeus for us here. So, yes, another game here. This is an interesting one. Now, I have been hearing murmurs about how powerful Gaia is. I also think Gaia is really strong, but when you tie together Gaia's strength plus the way that Kavoth plays Gaia, then all of a sudden you've got something that is incredibly powerful. And what do I mean by the way Kavoth plays Gaia? Well, effectively, Kavoth is a macro player at heart. He is a macro player and a strategic player. And what I mean by that, I mean like he's always looking for the ways in which he is going to be able to attack you and find damage, rather than like a aggressive player who is just like straight down the line. I'm gonna build my dudes. I'm gonna get everything out. I'm gonna go and attack you. A timing attack player. Maybe that's more like a Mr. X. Mr.'s got the whole package, but I'm using that as an example. He's done a lot of these sort of timing attack sort of ideas through Retold. But anyways, Kavoth doesn't really do that. He prefers to like set up for that attack in a way that, that's a weakness. But on top of that, he's a macro player, and he gets himself all his upgrades out and makes sure that that attack is going to be as kind of risk-free as possible, because he's always going to have the economy behind it to like remake an army. So he's never going to make those sort of mistakes there. Now, what El Matador does good, however, with the Zeus, and I've seen this before, is he's tricky with it. I saw him playing Zeus versus Kronos on Alpine. An absolute masterclass in trickery and in kind of, just like just metagaming, so to speak. He went for a very, very early aggressive attack with a handful of hoplites. I'm talking like two hoplites, a Jason, and Heracles, and a Minotaur. And then he stopped producing all military, and he dropped 2 town centers. And his opponent went, oh, you're making hoplites. Great. I'll just make some Carabalister. And Carabalister are amazing, right? Now they're really, really strong. I made a video on it. They're really, really good. But they're also useless at the same stage if there's no units out for them to actually kill. Because they don't have any pushing power, they don't have any raiding power, they don't have any usability outside of actually just killing infantry units. So if you force out some Carabalister, great, no problems. Let's just leave. Happy days. So, what are we going to see here? I wouldn't be surprised to see El Matador do something similar here. Go for a little bit of a poke. There's drafts. He can come and harass. There's chickens and berries at the front of the base here, which are options for raids. I'm sure that El Matador scouted that. It's a 4 Oasis, also 4 Forest Oasis here, which does make it the most aggressive variant of Oasis because it's very hard to kind of bounce around and defend. It's very hard to wall to that forest as well from your main base, but a temple, then get a wall across. Very, very, it's kind of a lot of resources, a lot of walling and all the other stuff there. But nonetheless, I would expect to see something like that. On the side of Kavoth here, one little thing to keep in the back of your mind is Kavoth, he's played El Matador quite a bit. These guys are training partners for this tournament, if you guys haven't heard. They played quite a bit together and they know each other's styles. So I wouldn't be surprised if El Matador has tried this out on Kavoth and Kavoth has not fallen for it. Remember, Kavoth has got Oceanus here, he's got Caladri, so he can confirm if more stuff's coming. If he's not going to be anything coming, he's just going to get out some Murmillo or something, and then those Murmillo are actually going to be able to do something, and then he's going to get his town centers and things like that. But anyways, I'm completely off, and El Matador is dropping a far second town center. I don't necessarily mind this from El Matador, but I'm not... I just don't think this is like your best possible move here. Maybe getting Heracles and Jason out just to harass and make sure that you can try and put some pressure on. We are seeing Kavoth here maybe overreacting a little bit to what could come for him. He's now getting himself some Murmillos, as there was a slight not a slight nerf. There was, I don't know if it was a nerf or a bug fix. I think it was a bug fix. The Atlantean citizens and the Quailfu were building town centers too fast or something. And I think this was in the game since the start of Retold. And maybe, just maybe, all these guys have worked out, well, hang on, there's some timings here we've got to actually worry about. If we put like 3 or 4 citizens onto a town center, but Heracles and Jason and a Minotaur come through, it's not like I can just hold on to it. So we are seeing a couple of units getting forced out here from Kvoth so that he can then go over and get his town center. Which will mean that El Matador now, he's getting himself a nice, healthy villager advantage, as we are going to be seeing a whole bunch of relics getting picked up. That's the Canopic Jar of Imseti there. There's also the farming relic that got picked up, I believe. And a whole bunch of other good stuff. As this gets scouted out by El Matador immediately, he sees a whole bunch of Murmillo now as well. And the question's got to be, well, what do I build to kill off these Murmillo? One option here is just to go straight to the heroic age and start making those Papaspists. Or a more simple answer here is to say, let's just get out archers. And we'll just sit here. Because we've already found ourselves an advantage on this second town center going up a little bit fast. Nice little headbutt there onto these villagers as he then... That's cute. He gets in, headbutts, and runs away. He's like, hey, okay, the damage done. Getting walls up as well is nice. But I do think that he's going to need some units here. One really, really big thing that Zeus gets over everyone else... Just realizing I had no sound there for some reason. I don't know if that was me or if that was EGC TV. Anyways, one thing that Zeus has and Greek has, which should mean that you can never get caught out by anything ever, as you see a bolt there onto that Carnivora, is a Pegasus. And there's no excuse. I don't believe there's an excuse to not have a Pegasus out at any point in this game. They're so cheap, 50 food, 2 favor for the ability to never get caught out in the game ever, and basically those units never die. Yes, please, yes, thank you, I will do that. And at the moment, we are seeing El Matador, he's not really building anything. He's building farms, he's getting plow, he's playing very, very slowly in terms of just everything. And, I mean, the question is, how many units is Kvoth really going to build? I mean, these two heroes can't do anything against the Caladria. He needs to kill off a Caladria first, and to be completely honest, it is impossible to kill off a well-controlled Caladria. As Jason gets taken out, Jason immediately going to get rebuilt, and we see the Olympic parentage to come through. We got one little attack there, a little bit of a miscontrol from Kavoth. Ha! It's possible. It's possible to kill him. One Mamilla, though, getting taken down by the tower there. Nice play as a building of Military Academy to come down. I think that El Matador's plan here is to try and get to the heroic age. Is this going to be a problem? I don't think it is. I think it's fine. Seeing what Kavoth is doing, seeing all the Murmillo and saying, okay, I've got watchtowers. Let's go heroic age. Let's put the military academies down and let's just build out a good healthy amount, not too many, but a good healthy amount of Haspist, and be ready for a transition into hoplites if the Contarius come, or get ready for a transition into Peltast if the Arcus come. That seems to be the best idea right now for El Matador. He could also be on a second gold mine for the moment here, which it looks like he is on, as Kvoth is just continuing to put pressure onto this temple. He is slowing down favor generation, but he's losing Murmillo here. Now, on the other hand, one thing that I know that Kavoth is really good at, and we're not going to see it, I don't think, unless you guys are checking out the building production queue there, but Kavoth is so good at getting his upgrades in. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already got himself Shaft Mine, Bowsaw, and now getting himself Plow. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already got those upgrades in, because he is just that good and that focused in onto getting those. As these walls getting broken down now onto this position here, this is dangerous for El Matador, because he is out in the middle of the map. And these villagers on this town center not really doing a whole, on that gold mine, town center, whatever. There's nothing really there. So this is dangerous. A hoplite now coming through to try and defend here. I think he should just run into his main... Oh, man, there's just not enough stuff here. Maybe he should just run into his main base or something. He's got to run those villagers, though. He is waiting way too long, as the villagers will make a break for it here, trying to get back up to the town center. There's the villagers on the wood line as well. This is the sort of damage here which Kavoth has been waiting for. Great control yet again there from the Caladrius. Taking a couple of arrow hits. Does lose one there as the... it seems just a little bit too much to control everything. But underneath the town center is going to be completely fine. More hoplites to come through. El Matador needs buildings down. He's going through Apollo, which is great. He's going to get a Manticore out, but he needs more buildings down. I would throw down 2, 3 more military academies, get rid of that wood, and also behind it, just have access to a couple of archery ranges just in case the Arcus start coming through. But you don't have to build those until the heroic age anyways. As a nice little fight there onto that Murmillo, keeping that one alive, going to be able to heal it back up. Nice little play there, back to his town center. He is trying to build a lot of hoplites out, but he just doesn't have the military buildings here. He is missing them. He's only got 2. There's not enough at the moment. This timing here from Kavoth is absolutely brutal. Lots and lots of idle time on these villages that that El Matador just can't handle. It might be worthwhile to have just... He snipes down the Carnivora, but it might have been worthwhile to just use Restoration there to try and hold everything. There's some more hoplites to come over. Hoplites aren't the unit he needs. He's now going to be able to get those Pacifists out. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kavoth rushing up now to the heroic age and deciding to go into whatever is next. As these villagers sneaking out past the wall here. He can pull back in if he wants to. Half the units aren't there, and he does have some hoplites there to come and join in the fight. Onto the granary here, onto the berries here, but he does get spotted. Village is going to start falling here, and this is the damage that Kavoth has been wanting. He's been looking for this. He's in. He takes the units out beautifully. The villagers will not be able to make it back home, as he does decide to turn around. Drops the restoration now. as he will be able to keep those villages alive. Actually, he does lose a couple of them, but he is back 55 villages to 80 though. Yes, this is citizens versus regular villagers, but this is not good for El Matador. He should be closer to like 70 or 65 here at this point, I would guess. He's lost a lot. He has lost a lot. As third town center now going to come up for Kavoth. He's going through Rhea is an interesting choice. And the Underworld, the Underworld patch, I've seen this Underworld too many times now. I've seen it too many times. The villagers are going to be able to get out of here. Maybe this one villager goes down. I think it's going to make it to the town center. No, it goes down. I've seen this one too many times. I'm not a fan of this Underworld. Underworld is and will always be one of the strongest god powers to use strategically in a game. Rather than trying to get damage done in the mid game, it's a god power to use when you got a full population. When you got full population. When your opponent's in one spot and you say, hey, let's go and attack you on another spot. That is so powerful. When you can rush in and get buildings up in a position, that's so powerful. When you kill off one citizen and idle some villages, not really it. But nonetheless, I think El Matador feels like he needs to get some damage done. Units falling. Third town center just to be about to be up. Rhea is now in, which means Trader come through onto Manticore and things like that. Wouldn't be surprised to see El Matador spot that and then just delete his Manticore. But nonetheless, these Momilla are going to be so powerful. He's getting Mail of Orichalcos. He's making those Arcas. So an idea here for El Matador would be Paspist Peltas now. So this is totally within the realm of reason here. And it makes perfect sense. The reason I'm a bit surprised on the Rhea is because of how good Thea is against Greek. Greek doesn't have that many heroes. 4 heroes only. So the Dryads are just really, really good. As he does decide to steal away that Manticore there. And we do have the Jason to come over. A couple of smacks onto this one. No micro from Kvoth just yet, as it's just about to go down. Oh. It kind of looked like the Jason stopped attacking there as the Manticore just pulled itself back of its own accord. But it manages to stay alive. And now it's going to be able to get taken out. He could just pull it back and have it healed up on top of all... No, never mind. It's gone. Could have healed it up on top of all of the Gaia Lush and had a Manticore forever there. But nonetheless, lots more Murmillos coming through as the Hypaspis to come up to the top side here. Or the army to come up to the top side here, trying to take out a town center. Not going to be able to do so. Has to retreat back. Kavoth has defended everything now. The question is, did El Matador buy himself the time he needs now or not? I didn't get to see I didn't look in the building queue if Kavoth grabbed his economic upgrades, but again, given how he plays, I wouldn't be surprised here if he's already got himself quarry, he's already got himself carpenters, and he's already got himself irrigation. I could be wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already there. As the infantry units retreating back, everyone going to be pulling back over here. And the hoplites going to town in the center of the map here as well. We've got ballistics also coming through for El Matador. But the population differential is just absolutely gigantic here. And this is all just because of how much of an advantage that Kavoth has found. As now we see Temple of Healing, more Peltas to come in. But El Matador needs to have himself out. Basically pure Hypaspists with a handful of Peltas. He doesn't, like, these hoplites are not going to help him. The Murmillo are too powerful. Mail of Orichalcos plus having access to Bite of the Shark. Oof. That's an oof. They're so, so powerful. As the Arcus getting some good damage done here. El Matador retreating back into his second base here. These villagers on this gold mine will need to retreat away. We see a nice little temple to come up here. I like the idea because he's got that Temple of Healing. We'll be able to heal up his units and maybe take a fight here, but he needs to get a lot more population in. He's down 40 population in terms of military here. In fact, Kavoth can just take this fight and he will be completely fine here. Now, the Temple of Healing does heal 3 different units at a rate of, I think it's 7.5. So if they're not doing anything, if they're just sitting there not moving, they go up by 7.5 HP a second. If they're moving, then it's a little bit more. But now we've got Atlas in, and given the very large advantage which Kavoth has managed to get for himself, given that advantage, this implode is going to hurt. Now, if you're in front or equal and implode comes down, you can kind of macro back out the army. It's not a problem. But when you're behind, that's when these god powers start really, really stinging. But even so, with these Arcus out, there's just not enough Peltas, it looks like. The Murmillos are falling to the Hapaspist, but there's not enough of an answer right now from El Matador for those Arcus, which means the army here is going to melt. And Kvoth is staying at a very, very healthy full population, while El Matador is struggling to take this army out. And these Murmillo are just absolutely tanks as well. Like, these Hapaspists, they do win. Without a doubt, they are going to win here against the Murmillos, even at this stage. But they're just so much more tanky than they otherwise would be with that Mail of Orichalcos tech. Absolutely insane. But nonetheless, breaking through, the Arc is doing a fantastic job here. The momentum 100% in the hands of Kavoth. El Matador trying to break through the center of the map. He's got the fortress up. He's got all these units here trying to take this fight, but the Arcus in the back getting sniped down nicely by the Peltas. There are a good handful over here, which is nice, as half the army of Kavoth is now stuck. Not stuck in the main base, but in the main base, causing problems there. As those hoplites going down, building temple goes down, dropping a couple of those relics there, and there's the implode to come in onto this spot. And all the units getting drawn in, as it looks like El Matador's army does all die, and the destroyers will now be able to move in and take out the fortress as well. I think there's a little bit of a misclick there from Kavoth. He should have tried to get all the villagers on that gold mine as well sucked in there. Get as many units as you possibly can sucked in onto that implode. You're going to kill them all. As the destroyers managing to finish up the fortress here, and I don't think El Matador's actually getting close to full population, but Kavoth's got himself 4 town centers, 216 pop. Wouldn't be surprised to see him starting up the trade route. Flood control coming in, champion infantry now in, champion archers on the way. Bolt there coming down onto that Argus does mean no access to an extra restoration anytime soon. And El Matador has to pull all the way back here, as Kavoth can just motor on forward. Even those Peltas aren't scary at all for Kavoth. And in that moment there, El Matador does decide to concede. I think this game realistically came down to one moment. And that one moment was, well, either one, the heroic age was just that little bit too slow from El Matador, or two, he just didn't have enough military buildings to defend. He had the resources, I think. He had the ability to build a Hapaspist. Well, the hoplites were coming out, but he just didn't have the military buildings. 2 military buildings with 6 units queued up. You're always going to be spamming on infantry anyways. Wouldn't it have been a bad idea to have 4 military buildings there? He would have been able to have like 8 hoplites out to defend and then immediately go into a Hapaspist, and he would have been completely fine. But yeah, he just lost so many villagers, 29 villagers killed in this game to 14 citizens, but still a really well-played game there by Kavoth. Controlled it for the most part. I think the other option, which would have been a little bit more sensible for El Matador, would have been to just scout. If he sees all the Murmillos, build Toxotes. They're pretty good. I don't care what anyone says. You don't need ballistics for Toxotes to be decent. You just need to have the right position. Your opponent can't charge into your Toxotes. If you've got a couple of hoplites and a whole bunch of Toxotes there, you can just defend. It's all fine. But nonetheless, game 3 going to Kavoth. We'll see if he can convert and take the series and move on to the losers semifinals, or if El Matador is going to take this one and force it into a game 5. Alrighty, game number 4. We're on the map step, and Kavoth picks set, and El Matador runs in with the Ra. An interesting little cheeky bit of mind games, I think, here from both players. El Matador picks Ra here. Ra on step is not a god that I expect very much. I think we have seen Ra on step a little bit actually, so maybe it's not so crazy. But why set here from Kavoth? Well, I think El Matador in his god pool had a pretty big pick of Uranos here, and every single step thus far, he has picked Uranos. Every single time. And Kavoth said, hey, I can play Set versus Uranos. I know how to do that. Let's give it a go. But he's run into Set versus Ra, which is a completely different kettle of fish. Now, the good thing here is that unlike half the maps on the ladder, Step doesn't have amazing town centers. It does have one or two. You can see that on the bottom of the map and at the top of the map, the north and south town centers have both got pretty good gold mines. And that's generally the case here for Step. In fact, I'm yet to see a map where a town center with Citadel plus a Migdol stronghold next to it is not, or two Migdol strongholds next to it, isn't enough to like say that gold mine's good for an Egyptian player. However, why do I bring all this stuff up? Well, the reason is that Set, for the most part, can't really compete with Ra in terms of unit strength. Ra's got more HP on his more HP on his big doll units. He's got access to Sobek or access to Sekhmet. Both are good. I would say Sekhmet's slightly better. And he's got access to Osiris, of which Set does not have access to, which means the camel riders are going to be really powerful. Camel riders are insanely good against camel riders, chariot archers, and elephants. So you have no access to the Migdol stronghold here if you're playing a Set, in my opinion. In fact, you shouldn't go for the Migdol stronghold here if you're playing a Set, in my opinion. In fact, I probably wouldn't even build one Migdol if I can help it. I don't want to go to the Mythic Age. If I can fall, I want to finish this game in the Heroic Age if I can, because this Ra player is just going to get out of control. So, why is that a problem? Well, it's because the gold mine situation here is going to be difficult. And I think that Kavoth can go for a gigantic all-in in the Heroic Age and attempt to kill the Ra. That's going to be the idea. We see Star coming through for both players. No surprises there. Both at exactly the same time. Both a little bit on the late side here, I would say. If I was in the Ra player's shoes here and I advanced at 4 minutes and I knew my opponent was going for a 4-minute 45, which you can sort of score cheat a little bit to figure that stuff out if you really, really want to get into it. Personally, I haven't bothered, but if you really know, you know. And being 45 seconds behind means I can get that forward town center up, and then I'm laughing. But if we both go 445, then there's no real advantage to come either way. So Kavoth can just make some buildings, make some barracks, make some spears, make some stuff, get ready to go. He also does find himself Gugnir Odin's Spear, which is going to boost up those spearmen, which is a really big help. Now, the other thing here is, though, the question right now is, okay, Spear's obviously really good against camel riders, and Set Spears are really good against camel riders. But if my opponent goes for Sekhmet and goes for chariot archers, can I beat those chariot archers with spearmen? No. Not unless I'm in the Horus. If I get to Horus, I can beat the chariot archers with spearmen, maybe. But can I beat them with slingers? 21 range versus 18 range, 19 range, 20 range. It's a bit challenging. It is a bit challenging. Especially with someone as good with as good a control as El Matador, I would imagine it'd be very, very tricky. But we are seeing both players going for barracks here, which is surprising. This is definitely El Matador playing into the hand of Kavoth. Offset. He's got both players getting their Wadgets out. It's 2 monuments apiece here for the moment. Upgrades coming through for Kavoth as he's getting a hand axe. Barracks number 2 or 3 coming through for El Matador. And both players are making spearmen. But Kavoth's are better. They're faster. They're cheaper if you get them under the monuments. And he's got Gugnir Odin Spear. So El Matador will be needing some sort of access to Axemen or Chariot Archers really quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for like a fast heroic behind all this. He's looking for some raids now, but even if he does this, the Spearmen of Kavoth, they can catch these out. 5.3 speed versus 5.0 speed. You do the math. One's bigger. One number is bigger than the other number. But El Matador has gotten himself medium spears first. But does that matter? The Spearman coming around, getting spot by the tower. He sees a Pharaoh with those Spearmen there. The Wadgets are in to say hello. But not going to be able to get a whole lot of damage done as there's that speedy Spearman shenanigans. This one Spearman is not getting out of here. He's going to get poked down and eventually will fall as he is out of there. And now we see some slingers to come through, electron bullets and all the other good stuff. That's the Spearman coming in yet again. More little pokey, jabby, jabby. And the Wadget's now wandering over here, just getting a little bit of damage onto these bad boys, as they will simply just retreat back. So where to next? Who's got the stronger army right now? Well, it's looking like Kavoth's got slightly more population, but the military difference in terms of resources is the same, which means those are animals, I think, in that population, which are very good. Maybe they're not. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's happening with this army military differential right now. Maybe, nice little dodges there. As I think that Slinger survives there. But yeah, where to next? At this point, you just kind of want to take a fight, I think, if you're Kavoth. Like, if you can take a good, solid fight and not lose everything, you force the Ra player to stay in the Classical Age. And for the longer you can stay in the Classical Age, the better, in my opinion, for the set player. Nonetheless, Spearman just going to be retreating through there. All these units getting healed up as El Matador and Kvoth just sitting, waiting, watching. In classic Kavoth fashion, he's already out on a second gold mine here. He shouldn't be. Shouldn't be allowed to be out on this gold mine, but he is. He's defending it though, so it's fair and reasonable. But he is leaving a little bit of gold in his main base for a little bit later, which means if he gets into a pickle, or if he is trying to rush, or not rush, but attack, he can bring his villagers back into his main base and keep getting gold while his opponent can't. As the shield for Kvoth now coming in, or the shield upgrade, the unique one, leather frame shield for Matador coming through for Kavoth Spearman. He's looking to pressure into the main base. Not going to be able to find a whole lot there, as El Matador does spot a little bit of house attacks. He can kill off some houses on this top side here. As the Wadget Arunis, there's a lot of those Wadgets there. I think El Matador is just focused more on upgrades for the moment. He does have empowered monuments as well, so they should be getting a little bit more than what Kavoth is getting. Nonetheless, we'll see how things are going to go as the Spearmen over on this side ending up getting picked off. Village differential right now. Kavoth is, for some reason, in front by 3. Not sure exactly what's happened there with the El Matador macro, but falling behind 3 villages here. I don't think he's been hit with a raid yet. This is just some macro problems, just some food income problems. But the military numbers are looking very nice for El Matador. And 3 villages shouldn't really change a whole lot, especially when you've got everything being empowered and your opponent doesn't. But that being said, the 5%, or is it 10% now? The cheaper units for set are really, really good in this sort of a situation. This is a big, big help. As El Matador retreating back, it looks like Kavoth is going to be going for the next age here. It's a little bit on the risky side. I think I would rather see him, or maybe if he's going to hit Sekhmet and then attack while El Matador is stuck in the Classical Age, or sinking in the Classical Age, or advancing to the Heroic Age. If you can hit that Heroic Age and then attack, he's going to have the stronger Wadgets. That could be his idea. But we'll see. Because El Matador now has full population. He's getting more barracks down. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him angling to the Heroic Age as well. Upgrade-wise, I don't think we've really seen a whole bunch of armory upgrades coming in just yet. As Kvoth is now searching around with his own spearmen for raids. Sekhmet now queued up. Electron Bullets is now pre-queued as well for all of those slingers. And he does spot these villagers over here. Great control, great reaction from El Matador. Not going to take a single little hit of damage as the army, though, for El Matador is pushing through. This is the timing which he needs, but Kavoth says, I know that I am weak now. I am just going to pull back. I've gotten damage on your villagers, and there's nothing you can do. And he spots villagers on the food situation here as well. Is he going to get a kill? He might get one villager kill. Yeah, he gets one, and then he's going to have to pull back out. Otherwise, he's going to lose a lot of spearmen to tower fire here. It's all getting empowered up, and the arrows are speeding up in a big way there. So spearmen going down. The other thing is for Kavoth is he can immediately grab himself like heavy spearmen here as well. I am surprised we haven't seen axemen coming out. I get the spearmen for raids, but axemen just kind of win, no? Maybe they're better at surviving versus slingers. I don't know. Anyways, a little bit of an attack now coming in from El Matador as he's realizing he is very stuck here. All the units retreating back in underneath this main base here with the Citadel Center will be more than enough to hold on. The gold situation here for El Matador, very, very tricky. Kavoth has utilized this home gold mine beautifully here now. He's going to spot these villagers, all the army out of position here for El Matador. He's retreating the villagers forward here. He's pulling his villagers forward into his own army to try and defend himself as El Matador will be able to get over here. Heavy Spearman is in now, as well as heavy slingers, and Slings of the Sun is queued up, which is a huge technology. And El Matador is just like, wow, he's in a really tough spot now. He's got no upgrades. Well, he's got the heavy upgrade, the medium upgrades, but no heroic upgrades. The army is just better for Kavoth. Kavoth he's got this Shifting Sands to come in as El Matador gets a beautiful Shifting Sands here to pull away from the other side as Kavoth says, all right, I'm out of here. He's Shifting Sandsing now his own army to get grouped up with his own units here. That was absolutely wild, but the villager differential now getting very out of control. But all that matters here is controlling the center of the map as the Wadgets going after each other. The Slingers making their way over here. The population here is incredibly close as the priests, classical age priests here, no good. Absolutely no good. No range. Can't get in and deal with those Wadgets at all. The Slingers of Kavoth, are they going to be enough, though, with the extra little bit of upgrades? Great control here, though, from Kavoth, placing those Wadgets right in front of the enemy Slingers, so they get tanked, so they tank everything. But El Matador, better control there, focus firing down the backside of those Slingers, as it's looking like, for the moment here, El Matador, he is winning this fight, and that means he will be able to hold on. But Kavoth here, putting up a Migdol at the top side of the map. Still, gold situation, a little bit difficult for El Matador. He's got one gold mine in the center of the map. He's got one gold mine on the back. He's putting walls up. But with a Migdol up, now all of a sudden, these Slingers have got no pushing power. How do you get onto that gold mine? Answer? Lots and lots of spearmen, I guess. Another thing here that Kvoth can do is get out a couple of elephants if he has the resources, which he does. He can go sling an elephant, or he can go sling a camel rider. For this moment onwards, and this is a decent sort of army composition against the Egyptians, but it does have some weaknesses to some other stuff, like full camel riders, for example. But nonetheless, he can go for that right now, and that's going to be a nice way to hold on. But El Matador down 16 villages now. Plus, the longer this goes on before El Matador gets to the heroic age, the worse this becomes, because Citadel Center is just working overtime, getting an extra villager out every couple seconds. Well, not an extra couple seconds, but an extra villager out every, what is it, like 14, 13 seconds to 15 seconds or something like that. Nonetheless, Slingers coming through, Scarab as well, all the good stuff. As Kavoth now moving in. as the Camel Rider's pulling back. But Kavoth here, I mean, he can just sit on this advantage, right? He doesn't have to fight. Great control here with that Camel Rider, just doing the old jukies. But there's just so many slingers here, though, for El Matador, as the Camel Rider is going to come through. These guys now, they hurt slingers. These guys do a lot of damage to those slingers here, as they're trying to retreat back the spin and trying to get into position. But these are slingers with Slings of the Sun. They don't necessarily, quote-unquote, counter infantry units. Especially not infantry units that have got themselves huge amounts of pierce armor because of upgrades to the car. But they do very, very nicely versus them. As Kvoth here does get sent back a little bit by the spearman. But he's found himself a really healthy population advantage here. As the Scarabs coming in, trying to snipe these units down. Spearman on the back. Getting taken out. More slingers to come in. And it looks like El Matador's army is no more. And there's not a whole lot now that he can realistically do moving forward. And Kavoth finds the dub. And he manages to move on to the next stage of the tournament. He's in the losers semi-finals now. Congratulations to Kavoth. This game was... I do think that this game sort of played really, really heavily in to what Kavoth wanted, which was a classical fight. That's where Set has the advantage. Ra's got the advantage, Heroic Age, Mythic Age. Set's got the advantage in Classical Age. And El Matador sort of plays straight into that. I think if El Matador played a little bit more conservatively, maybe just put a village center down and then went to the Heroic Age, completely different sort of situation there. Maybe he gets Gold Star, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But that's one way to have gone there, but he didn't, and Kavoth does manage to find enough of an advantage there and get the victory. Killing off 12 villages is all he needed, but also a little bit of off macro from El Matador did set him a little bit further behind than he otherwise needed to be. And sometimes that happens at the end of a long series like that. Well played to both players. Congratulations to them. Better luck in the next tournament for El Matador, and we'll see how Kavoth will go in the next one. Hope you guys are enjoying watching this. Next one up is going to be tomorrow at 1400 GMT. Remember that. And it's going to be Magic versus Chemo. I love that matchup. I'm very excited to watch it, so make sure you tune in. After that, we're going to be doing all of them all together. Actually, no, there's one more after that, and then we're going to do all of them all together for the final day. It will be the final three going at it. But I have to wait and see. I haven't watched them yet. Very exciting. And I'll see you in the next one.